During a high-stakes match, tennis legend Serena Williams was confronted with a racist comment from the stands. The tension was thick as the crowd waited to see how she would respond. What happened next left everyone in shock, revealing the incredible strength and dignity Serena holds. This powerful moment is a testament to her character. How many times have you witnessed intense moments in tennis? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. Serena Williams stood on the court, surrounded by spectators at one of the biggest tournaments in New York City. It was a hot summer day, with temperatures reaching 30 degrees Celsius, and the sun was blazing overhead. The entire city was buzzing in anticipation of the important match, and the atmosphere at the stadium was tense. Around Serena were thousands of fans, some who had followed her career for years, others simply there to watch the game. But no one expected that this day would become significant for reasons other than the match itself. Serena was in top form, her movements on the court graceful yet powerful as she confidently racked up points. But amid all the cheers and applause, a voice from the crowd broke the harmony. Someone, perhaps out of frustration or in the heat of the moment, shouted a racist slur. The stadium instantly shifted, and all eyes turned to Serena. She paused for a split second, but didn't let the incident affect her, refocusing on the match and preparing for her next shot. This moment became symbolic, not only because of how Serena kept playing, but also because of how she handled this rude interruption. In a world where racism remains a painful issue, especially in sports where figures like Serena often face immense pressure due to their status, her response was a powerful example of inner strength. She was able to remain composed despite the challenges society threw at her. Serena continued the match, but this moment, this outrageous comment, would not go unnoticed. As the match continued, Serena's mind was focused on one thing: the game. The crowd's energy was palpable, with every swing of the racket causing a collective gasp or cheer from the stands. But despite the excitement surrounding her, the impact of the racist comment lingered in the air. The spectators had fallen silent, unsure of how to react. Some looked towards Serena, hoping she would address the issue, while others, perhaps uncomfortable with the confrontation, pretended it hadn't happened. The stadium, once filled with the sounds of excitement, now felt heavy, as though time had briefly stopped. Serena, however, didn't let the words of one person ruin her moment. She had been through worse. In her career, Serena had faced countless challenges, not only as a woman in a male-dominated sport, but also as an African-American athlete competing at the highest level in a world that wasn't always welcoming. From the start of her career, she had been a target of unfair criticism, many times rooted in her race and gender. The comment from the crowd wasn't a new experience, but it was still painful. She knew that the eyes of the world were on her, not just as an athlete but as a symbol of resilience, strength, and defiance against the odds. Serena had been fighting this battle long before she stepped onto that court. In her youth, she faced racism and discrimination at every turn. As a child, she was often the only African-American girl in the tennis community, and her family, her father, Richard Williams in particular, had faced skepticism and hostility from many who didn't believe a young black girl from Compton could rise to the top of the tennis world. But through all of that, Serena never let negativity define her. She and her sister, Venus, fought for every point, every match, and every victory in a sport that often excluded them. They fought not just to win, but to be seen as equals, to prove that they deserved a place at the table. Her strength, both on and off the court, had made her a beacon for many young athletes, especially those from marginalized communities. Serena had become a role model for countless black girls and women who saw in her not just a champion, but someone who showed them that they, too, could overcome the barriers society had set for them. But as her success grew, so did the scrutiny. Serena's body, often seen as too strong or too muscular for a female athlete, was frequently criticized in ways that her white counterparts were not. Her emotional responses were often twisted into signs of weakness, while others, especially male athletes, were praised for similar outbursts. These battles were not just about tennis. They were about fighting the biases and stereotypes that came with being a black woman in the public eye. As the game progressed, Serena's concentration never wavered. She could feel the eyes of the crowd on her, waiting for her to respond, to say something. But she didn't. Instead, she focused on her serve, her footwork, and the rhythm of the game. With every point she won, it was as if she was telling the crowd that their words didn't matter, that no matter what they said, she would continue to perform at the highest level. She was determined to show them that their attempts to bring her down would only make her stronger. Serena's ability to stay composed and keep playing was a statement in itself. She wouldn't let hate define her or her career. The incident, however, did not go unnoticed by the broader tennis community. The next day, social media was flooded with reactions. Support poured in from fellow athletes, celebrities, and fans who recognized what Serena had endured and admired how she had handled the situation. But there were also voices of dissent. Some tried to downplay the incident, suggesting that Serena should have ignored the comment or that it wasn't worth addressing. But this was not just about one racist comment. It was about the systemic racism that black athletes, particularly women, continue to face in every corner of society. Serena, with her resilience, was once again proving that she would not be silenced by those who wanted to diminish her achievements because of her race. For Serena, it wasn't just about winning that match. It was about showing the world that despite the hate, despite the struggles, she would continue to rise. Her reaction in that moment was a reflection of the grace and strength that had defined her career, but also a call to action. It was a reminder that the fight against racism, discrimination, and inequality was ongoing, and it was a fight that needed to be faced head-on, no matter the arena. The match ended, and Serena had won, as expected. But the true victory was not in the final score. It was in the way she had handled the situation with grace, strength, and dignity. She had once again shown the world what it meant to be a champion, both on and off the court. As the match drew closer to its conclusion, the tension in the stadium remained palpable. But Serena was focused, her movements as precise and calculated as ever. Every swing of her racket was a statement, a defiant act of perseverance against the racist comment that had tried to disrupt her mental state. The crowd, which had once been unsure how to react to the insult, slowly began to realize something. Serena wasn't just an athlete. She was a force of nature, an example of strength and resilience. The weight of the moment became clear to everyone. It wasn't just about tennis, it was about facing hate, injustice, and adversity, and rising above it with grace. Behind the scenes, the incident didn't go unnoticed by the other players and professionals in the sport. There were whispers of support, private messages from other athletes, and a growing movement that recognized the larger issue at hand. But it also revealed the harsh truth about how racism was still deeply embedded in professional sports. For years, Serena had been subjected to scrutiny not just for her athleticism, but for being a black woman in a sport traditionally dominated by white players. The fact that she was, at the time, still breaking barriers, winning major tournaments, and shattering records only seemed to make some individuals more determined to tear her down. It was a stark reminder of the systemic challenges Serena faced throughout her career. From the very beginning, her family had to fight to be taken seriously. Richard Williams, her father, had been ridiculed for training his daughters in Compton, a neighborhood far removed from the tennis elite's world of country clubs and wealthy suburbs. But he never wavered, and neither did Serena. Over the years, she faced the stares, the whispered comments, and the critiques that were not aimed at her white counterparts. When Serena's body type was criticized for being too muscular or too strong for a woman, when her emotions were labeled as aggressive, while male athletes received similar treatment without consequence, she realized that the sport and the world at large weren't ready for a woman who refused to conform to their expectations. This particular incident, though painful, was not something Serena was unfamiliar with. She had faced racist comments before, both in public and in private. It wasn't the first time someone had tried to undermine her because of her race, and it wouldn't be the last. But the difference this time was how she handled it, and the way she chose not to give it the power it sought. Instead of retaliating or responding directly, she stayed in the moment, focused on the game, and let her actions on the court do the talking. Serena's quiet defiance was powerful. It was a message to every single person who had ever doubted her, ever belittled her because of her race, her body, or her gender. She was here to stay. She would continue to fight, not with words, but with her talent, her dedication, and her refusal to be silenced. Meanwhile, in the stands, the reaction to the racist remark was a mix of uncomfortable silence and disbelief. Some of the audience, especially those who had followed Serena's career closely, were shocked. The realization that such prejudice could still find a place in the world of professional sports was a sobering one. But it also sparked a broader conversation about racism in tennis and in sports in general. Fans, commentators, and other athletes began speaking up about the issue, recognizing that Serena's response was not just about her career, but about the need for greater inclusivity and respect in every sport. After the match, the media frenzy began. The racist comment made headlines, but what truly stood out was Serena's dignified silence in response to it. Her fans and supporters from around the world praised her for keeping her focus and not letting hate define her. At the same time, there was a growing recognition that this wasn't just an isolated incident. The structures in place in sports and in society still perpetuated inequality, often masking racism behind thin veils of politeness or silence. Serena's response served as a powerful reminder that addressing these issues required more than just words. It required consistent action, awareness, and a collective effort to dismantle systemic bias. Serena's ability to rise above the hate and finish the match was not just a victory for her, but for every person who had ever been told they couldn't succeed because of their background, appearance, or identity. In the moments after the match, Serena shared a quiet reflection on the matter, acknowledging the importance of not letting negativity dictate one's journey. "We all face battles," she said, "but the most important thing is to keep fighting for what is right and to never allow hate to control us." And while the incident didn't end the way the person who made the racist comment likely expected, it highlighted the need for continued efforts toward racial equality in sports and beyond. Serena's victory on the court and her unwavering response to the hateful remark became a powerful symbol of resilience, making it clear that no matter what obstacles society might throw in her path, she would continue to break barriers and inspire the world. As Serena walked off the court after securing yet another victory, the atmosphere in the stadium shifted back to a more typical level of excitement. Fans cheered, their voices echoing in celebration of her performance. But for Serena, the win had taken on a deeper significance. It wasn't just about the points she scored, the games she won, or the trophies she'd collect. This victory was personal. It represented something far more profound: her unyielding ability to rise above the negativity and hatred directed at her. The racist comment, which had tried to derail her focus, was ultimately powerless against the strength of her spirit. As she walked to the sidelines, Serena's mind raced through the years of challenges she had faced, the endless barriers she had broken. Each step on that court had been a battle, not just against her opponents, but against a system that often questioned her place in the sport simply because of her race. Her career had always been a balancing act, fighting for recognition, fighting for respect, and fighting for her right to be seen not just as a black woman in tennis, but as one of the greatest athletes of all time. From the moment she stepped onto the professional circuit, Serena had to prove herself in ways that her white counterparts did not. She was constantly scrutinized for her appearance, her athleticism, and even her personality. People criticized her physique for being too muscular for a woman, and her competitive spirit for being too aggressive. But Serena never backed down. Every criticism fueled her determination to prove that she was worthy, that she had the talent and heart to be a champion. And as she grew older, her resolve only strengthened. She learned that her success wasn't defined by the approval of others, but by her ability to keep pushing forward, no matter the obstacles placed in her way. But the truth is, Serena's strength had been built through years of enduring more than just the usual competitive pressures. In a country like the United States, where racial inequality still exists in many aspects of life, Serena's rise to the top was not just about her talent. It was about challenging an entire system that had long been built to keep certain people out. It was about her father, Richard Williams, defying the odds by training his daughters in Compton, California, a place known for its violence and poverty, far removed from the country clubs and wealthy tennis academies that traditionally dominated the sport. He believed that his daughters, regardless of their race, could achieve greatness. And despite the ridicule, despite the doubters, Serena and her sister Venus proved him right. They proved that race, gender, and background didn't determine the size of one's dreams or the level of one's talent. This was what Serena was fighting for in that moment, when the racist comment was hurled at her during the match. It wasn't just about defending herself from a single remark. It was about standing up for all the people who had ever been marginalized. All the people who had ever been told they couldn't achieve greatness because of who they were. She had carried the weight of that responsibility her entire career. And in moments like this, it was clear that the fight was much bigger than tennis. It was about breaking down societal barriers, about demanding respect for people of all races and backgrounds, about showing the world that greatness had no color. Serena's actions on the court that day weren't just a reaction to one person's ignorance. They were a declaration of her commitment to fighting for what's right. After the match, as Serena left the court, the media quickly shifted their focus to the incident. But it was clear that the story was no longer just about the comment itself. It was about the impact it had. Serena's response to the situation had sparked conversations across the country and around the world. Social media was flooded with messages of support from fans, athletes, and celebrities alike. People from all walks of life acknowledged the strength and grace with which she had handled the situation. But more importantly, it sparked a broader discussion about the prevalence of racism in sports and society. The incident had brought to the forefront the ways in which Black athletes, particularly women, are often treated differently. It highlighted the systemic racism that still exists, not just in tennis, but in many other sports and industries. Serena had never been one to shy away from speaking out about the issues that mattered to her. Over the years, she had used her platform to advocate for social justice, for gender equality, and for racial equality. She had spoken out about the need for more opportunities for young people of color to get involved in sports, and about the importance of breaking down the barriers that prevent marginalized communities from succeeding. Serena's voice had become a powerful tool for change, and this incident was no different. She didn't just let the comment slide. She made it clear that this type of behavior would not be tolerated, and she used her victory to raise awareness about the ongoing fight against racism in sports. In the days that followed, many in the tennis world spoke out in solidarity with Serena. Fellow athletes, coaches, and even tennis legends like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova publicly expressed their support. It was a testament to the power of community and how athletes, particularly those who have faced similar struggles, can stand together in the face of adversity. But while the support was overwhelming, it was also a reminder that, even in 2023, racism is still a reality that Black athletes face in every corner of the sports world. It's a reality that Serena had known for years, but that didn't stop her from continuing to fight, from continuing to win, and from continuing to be a beacon of hope for others. In the end, Serena Williams once again proved that her greatness was not just measured by her trophies or her victories on the court. It was measured by her courage, her ability to remain composed in the face of hate, and her unwavering commitment to standing up for what was right. As she left the court that day, Serena knew that she had won more than just a match. She had made a statement that would resonate far beyond the tennis world. As the dust settled and the game ended, Serena Williams walked off the court with the grace and dignity that had defined her career. The stadium was alive with applause, but Serena knew that the real victory was not just in the points scored or the matches won. It was in how she had handled the adversity thrown her way. In that moment, Serena had shown the world the true strength of character. She had faced a racist comment, a harsh reminder of the prejudices that still linger in sports and society, but she chose not to let it define her. Instead, she took control, using her platform to continue breaking barriers and fighting for what was right. The conversation sparked by that incident was far-reaching. It wasn't just about one hateful comment from a spectator. It was about the larger issue of racism that exists in every corner of life, including in the world of sports. Serena's response served as a reminder that silence in the face of racism is not an option. Through her resilience, she became an advocate for change, inspiring countless people to not only stand up against injustice but to also speak out when they witness it. Serena's actions weren't just a message to the individual who made the comment. They were a message to the entire world that racism, in any form, will not be tolerated. As the media buzzed with reactions, Serena's victory on the court became more than just another title. It was a victory for equality, for standing up for oneself and others, and for using the strength built over a lifetime of challenges to make a difference. Serena Williams had proven, once again, that she was not only a champion in tennis, but also a champion for change, showing us all that true greatness is measured not just in accolades, but in the courage to challenge the status quo and fight for a better future.